Welcome. It's great to have you here for this guided meditation and Dharma talk. My name is Jonathan Foust, and I appreciate you making the time to be here. Before we launch into our meditation, a few acknowledgments and thank yous. First, thank you to our mindful movement teacher before this class, and as well, a big thank you to Ray and Tara who offer mindful dialogue after this session. A couple things about the whole Monday night experience. If you're not familiar with it, at 6:30, you can join a mindful movement class led by some awesome teachers. We begin here at 7:30 on the live stream. The meditation begins at 8. We end at 8:45, and then a little bit after the meditation, you can join the mindful dialogue class led by Ray Manioki and Tara Cassidy. And in the mindful dialogue, it's an opportunity just to connect and hear from other people. You can share about the talk, how great it was, how fantastic it was, how much it changed your life, or anything in your practice, or maybe whatever buttons got pushed for you listening to the talk. In this day and age, it's so nice to have a way to kind of connect with really, really nice people. If you want to know more about the whole smorgasbord and get those Zoom links, you can go to my Facebook page or to my website. A big thank you to Glenn Harrison and Leo Gimo for producing this evening. And as well, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the Insight Meditation Community of Washington for hosting this class and all they do, and to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington, Virginia, which is the host for this Monday night class, or has been, and will be sometime in the near future, maybe in the fall. If you'd like to know more about this class and other resources to support you in your practice, you can sign up for a mailing list on my website. All my talks are available online, and just to let you know that all this is offered freely. The intention here is that no one who's interested in these practices and these teachings will ever be denied access. So it takes a fair bit of energy, it takes a fair bit of financial oomph to kind of pull all this together. And your support really, really does make a difference. So if you feel called to make a donation to support this, you can go through my website. Greatly, greatly appreciated. And this whole practice of generosity is quite transformative. I'm really touched by the support, and just to know that people are able to get access to this stuff. Anyway, I appreciate that. I'm really grateful to be able to share these practices. That's the bottom line, and I'm really, really glad you're here. One last thing, January 9th, I am leading an online day-long retreat. It's called The Most Important Thing, Beginning Your Year with Mindful Intention. So if you are interested in taking some time to reflect, for journaling, to reflect on this past year, to reflect on what's calling you in the year ahead, please feel free to join this. It's an opportunity for some inner reflection, but also an opportunity to kind of connect with people who are interested in what you're interested in, how to be more alive in your life. So that's on my website. Okay, enough of that. Let's move into our practice for now. And we'll begin with some little bit of mindful movement just to bring a little bit of attention, a little bit of awareness, energize a little bit in the body. We'll move into some softening and relaxation. We'll move into some concentration practice, open into a greater sense of mindfulness, non-judging awareness. Take some time to rest in presence at the end. And as always, if there's anything I lead that doesn't work for you, ignore me. Okay. As you're ready, you might want to reach your arms up overhead. Reach up to the left side, to the right side. You might like to alternate a little bit back and forth, and then bring your hands into the hitchhiker position, thumbs up, thumbs pointing behind you. Bring your fists right about equal with your ears. Open the elbows out to the side, but no strain, just where you kind of feel engaged. Can you feel like you're kind of taking the slack out of the muscles across the front of the chest? Next, draw your navel in toward your spine. That's going to help you to kind of activate the core. And now begin to slow down and deepen your breath. And once you kind of establish the sense of slow breath in, slow breath out, begin to contract your shoulder blades. Draw your shoulder blades close together. You can even draw the shoulder blades down slightly. And if you like, you can close your eyes and focus now, just focus on this constellation of sensations you might be feeling inside right now. Shoulder blades are drawn close together. Elbows are comfortably out to the side. And as you breathe, you're drawing the breath up under the collarbones on the inhalation. And as you exhale, again, you're activating, drawing the navel in toward the spine. And now as you continue here, just for maybe, let's say 3 more slow, deep breaths, feel how you're contracting the muscles that get lengthened on the back of the body. And you are lengthening the muscles that get chronically contracted when you sit too long. 1 more long, slow, deep breath in. And now again, if you like, reach your arms up overhead, stretch up to the left side and the right side, let out any sounds. You're on mute. Imagine you're in a breakfast commercial, smile like they do in the commercials, and then let your hands begin to float down. You can do this slow, you can do it medium slow, ultra slow, and let yourself begin to settle into your posture. And you might now take this time to do any little micro adjustments in your posture that are going to help you to settle in. It can be nice to just very gently let your torso sway a little to the right and left, a little bit back and forth. And I'm not sure why this works, but I find if I relax right along the base of the skull, right along the occipital ridge, if I relax there, and imagine a lengthening through the back of my neck, that can help to kind of bring in a sense of really entering into the posture. And feel the placement of your feet, the placement of your hands. Take a few moments to allow yourself to arrive. Notice the sounds around you. You sense the space and the room in which you are sitting. The sense of the air against your skin. Part of the ground of practice is receptivity. And you can enhance a sense of receptivity by softening, by relaxing. And you might just feel your forehead smooth. Sense all the little muscles around your eyes. You might explore your tongue. And could you relax your tongue? Let your tongue fill your lower jaw. And as you do so, allow your face to feel expressionless. Allow all little micro expressions to melt. And feel the volume of your lips and the inside of your mouth. Could you in any way relax or soften your jaw? Kind of the masseter muscles of the cheeks, all the way down to the chin. And feeling the back of your head, the base of your skull. And you might imagine your arms like heavy drapes. The arms hanging from the shoulders, and sense if you could relax the tops of the shoulders, the back of the neck, and just simply feel the weight and the volume of your arms. Down through the elbows, and down through the wrists. And you might feel or imagine your awareness flooding into the palms and fingers and thumbs, softening and feeling. And feeling through the backs of the hands. Sensing the throat. And the lungs and the heart. And you might take some time to let your awareness settle into the belly. You may find as you hold your attention here, just simply inquire what could soften and track any shift inside. Softening the belly, the lower abdomen. You may find the more you soften, the more you will be able to feel more details of the movement of the breath here in the belly. Sensing the quality of the in-breath. And the quality of the out-breath. And feeling now the lower back, feeling the buttocks. And feeling low in the abdomen, the floor of the pelvis, the hip joints. And the weight and the volume of your legs, sensing from the hip joints down through the knees. And the knees down through the ankles. And the tops of the feet and the toes. And the soles of the feet and the heels. Is there anything that could soften or relax on the inside right now? And can you sense this inner quality of receptivity? Feeling sensations as they arise. And can you sense this inner quality of being deeply relaxed and at the same time alert. And here you might direct your attention to an anchor of your choosing. Many people find this sense of the breath on the inside to be a helpful and reliable anchor. The breath of the belly or the nostrils, or just a general sense of the body breathing all by itself. Some find using sounds to be helpful. The real-time sounds that are happening right now. And others find an anchor such as the palms of the hands to be a helpful tool, as you soften the palms to feel any sense of aliveness and pulse or tingling. And whatever anchor you may choose, let this next period of time be this exploration of sustaining attention with your anchor, remembering that you are not here to try to control the mind, but as you relax, as you cultivate this quality of non-judging awareness, when you notice the mind lost in thought or lost in commentary, how gently can you escort your attention back to the breath, to sound, to feeling? When you notice your mind lost in commentary or far, far away, take some time to re-arrive. And what could relax or soften inside right now? Over the next 3 rounds of breath, how intimately can you feel your anchor from the inside? And you may find as you continue to relax and receive the present moment on the inside, you may notice that there's also a natural widening and broadening of awareness. a heightened awareness of everything that is changing. And as it feels right for you, you might gently relax your concentration on your anchor and broaden and widen your awareness to this perception of all that is changing. Sensing this seat of the witness, your capacity to be the open monitor of what is changing. And when the mind again gets lost, re-arrive, re-relax. Call on your anchor to help you arrive and become fully present. And then again, as you're ready, widen, broaden your awareness, sensing what is changing and sensing what it means to be aware of it and to let it be. In these remaining 5 minutes or so, you might refresh your practice. What could soften inside right now? The tongue, the belly, palms, the soles of the feet and the heels. Relaxed, alert. You might explore over the next 3 rounds of breath, how intimately can you feel the anchor from the inside? And sensing this quality of self-observation without judgment. Alert and awake to all that is changing. Allowing things to be as they are. And you might explore releasing all practices of doing, anything having to do with control or manipulation or making your experience happen. Let the anchor fall away. Let any sense of self-improvement fall away. And you might sense, what does it mean to simply be, to relax, to allow? What could soften? What could relax? What could let go right now? What could soften? What could relax? What could let go even more right now? And where do you feel the breath on the inside right now? And you might, in these final moments, gently lengthen the in-breath. And on the out-breath, relax, soften, and feel. Breathing in, I'm aware, breathing in. Breathing out, I am aware of softening and letting go. Releasing now all technique. Just relax and feel. And you might now very gently deepen your breath. And let your eyes, as they're closed, let your head drift a little to the left and to the right. Sense the movement from the inside, and as part of your practice now, ask your body how it might want to move. And take this time to stretch or to relax, whatever feels right for you. You might like to reach your arms up overhead. Take it a long, deep breath. Let your body stretch in any way that feels good for you. Welcome. An ancient rabbi is on his deathbed, and surrounding his bed are all of his most senior students and disciples. Down the stairs are all of his many students, and spilling out into the street are all the people in the village who are concerned around his passing. They're all waiting for his final words before he leaves his body. The whole town population is in attendance. And what seems to be his final breaths, he says, "Life is like a river." The senior students, they take this in, and word goes out of the bedroom and down the stairs. Life is like a river. The rabbi said life is like a river. It goes down into the downstairs and out into the streets. Life is like a river. And a little boy receives the message, like life is like a river. And he says, what does that mean? And the person who asks him kind of isn't sure. So he asks the person who asks him, what does that mean? And it makes its way from outside and back up the stairs and then back into the bedroom, back to the senior student. What does that mean? And the senior student leans into the rabbi and says, "Rabbi, you said that life is like a river. What does that mean?" It's a long, long pause. And he says, "Maybe it's not like a river." I always smile at that joke. My dad's favorite joke. That's one of the reasons why I like it. And I love that because what do we really know? As one teacher said, does anyone really know what anything is? Where it came from? How this whole life started? And the turning of the calendar to a new year, it's a really good time to kind of refresh intention. And for the past many years, I've kind of embraced this process by doing my annual review, where I try to be as brutally honest as I can around what worked and what didn't work and what's calling me. And I'd like to talk a little bit around this whole aspect of intention and attention and wise action. And the first part of this short talk is, I'm just calling it, "This is your life." The second, "Your future is calling." The third, a little bit on course correcting on your path. And then the fourth part of this talk, things to do before you die. So this is your life. I remember, as I've been reflecting on this topic, I was always informed by anxiety from a very, very early age. My life was pretty much around anticipating the worst, so I wouldn't be surprised when it happened. It was not a lot of fun. And much improved now. I feel so much more spacious and allowing and trusting. And maybe that's delusion. I don't know. Maybe it's more of a trusting presence. But I remember, I can't remember when, I wasn't meditating, but I had this sudden jolt of recognition. And the recognition was, this is it. Like, this is actually my life. These are actually my parents. These are actually my siblings. And in the back of my mind, I was kind of hoping that one day my real family would come and pick me up. But it was this sense of like, so these are the cards that I've been dealt it. I've got this body, I've got this mind, I have these things I do well, I have these mortal wounds. This is what I have to work with. It wasn't necessarily a pleasant realization. It was one of those, oh my God, this is what I've got. We are the inheritor of our karma. something to try on, that you are the inheritor of past actions. Tara and I have this joke where every now and then when we're troubled, one of us will say to the other, have you taken a good look at yourself recently? And it is helpful to take stock. Is your life turning out as you had hoped? Are you happy? And it's interesting to really ask yourself, how is your life really going? So I got a Zen pop quiz for you. If you like, you can close your eyes. You don't have to, but on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, oh my God, I'm so blessed, and 1 being, oh my God, it's so terrible. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your life right now in terms of the following? How would you rate your physical health and vitality right now? 1 to 10, how would you relate the quality and the satisfaction of your relationships? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate emotional well-being and emotional vibrancy? How would you rate your mental clarity? How would you rate your work? And how would you rate the aliveness of your inner spiritual life? And on a scale of 1 to 10, in general terms, how would you relate the quality of your life? Taking stock can be helpful. Seeing clearly, okay, what's here? What's the present state of now? Especially if you really want to be truthful around it. So it's one thing to take a look at what you've got, and it's another, I think, to be really helpful to look at motivation. And motivation is interesting because part of us there's something inside that's kind of motivated by possibility, and of course there's something inside that's motivated by conditioning. I had a dog that I adored who had a really strong prey drive. Dogs have kind of they have a pack mode and a hunt mode. This dog was pretty much 90% hunt mode. 115 pounds of prime dog. He was a Royal Standard Poodle, which is like the really, really gigantic ones. And I think he was like 80% wolf. A lot of just really, really vibrant, super smart, very, very alive, and a challenge because he just had a lot of energy. And I was able to let him run off leash. I lived in Western Massachusetts, so he had hours and I'd say, yeah, almost maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours a day where he was able to run free. So he loved to run, he loved to hunt. And I realized that if I was going to ever have him outside unattended, I had to have him on an electric fence, the ones with a collar. And so when you train a dog with an electric fence, one of those invisible fences, you work on conditioning. So I had him on leash. We would walk around the property. Whenever we would get to where the little white flags were, I would correct him and bring him back. Those electric fences, they have a little beep that lets them know when they're getting close to the edge of the fence. And so then I would let him get closer. He'd hear the beep, and then I would correct him. So you do that for a while. And then what you do is you let them actually get corrected. And it's a horrible thing to see, because when he went up to the edge of the fence, zap. It's not, I zapped myself. It's not really painful, but it's a surprise. It's kind of like static electricity. And he freaked out when he got shocked. And that's kind of all he needed. He was a pretty smart dog. It was hard for me to inflict that pain. But the long-term pain of him running off and getting hit by a car, it was a decision that I had to make. And I'll talk a little more on short-term, long-term strategy in a little bit. But it's interesting, if you think about the most painful experiences that you've had, how have they conditioned you? We are designed to avoid pain and to seek pleasure. That's like a basic part of our evolutionary biology. The challenge is, though, is that when we experience pain, that we might not go back there again when we possibly might. As Mark Twain said, if a cat sits on a hot stove, it'll never sit on a hot stove again. But it won't sit on a cold one either. So much of our life is then run by the perception of future pain. The possibility of loss, or the possibility of shame, or the possibility of failure keeps us from moving forward. Apparently, most people are more afraid of public speaking than they are of death. I think it was Jerry Seinfeld who said that most people would rather be the person in the coffin rather than the person giving the eulogy, which is pretty wild. But it points to something that is really integral toward this practice of liberation, and that is understanding the nature of desire. Desire puts the whole kind of karmic wheel in motion. And we have certain desires. We have the desire for success, the desire to gain, the desire for greater status, the desire for fame. But we also have a desire to avoid certain states. We have a desire to avoid shame, the desire to avoid failure, the desire to avoid loss and the loss of status. If we're not aware of this function of desire, it can be incredibly destructive. In the book Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari, he explored how in the past, as our species evolved to learn to work together as effective hunters, we pretty much killed off many animals to the point of extinction. We didn't know how to stop because we were so caught in the cycle of desire. When I first heard about Easter Island, these statues, these amazing statues on Easter Island, they're 22 feet high. They weigh up to 83 tons. These amazing works of art, and the sense of like collaboration and organization to create these things is amazing. When you look at the photos of them, they're incredible. I remember someone had a theory that actually aliens put them there as like a landing strip. But when the Europeans landed there in 1772, there were only a few people left on the island. They were emaciated. There were no animals on the island. They had all been eaten. There was no organization. It was very hand-to-mouth. They had no boats. They had no fire. What happened? Basically, what happened was deforestation. That there were at one point these, beautiful, beautiful trees, but when the trees were gone, then there were no birds, there was no pollination, there was no fire. They lost all the streams that eroded the topsoil, and basically they destroyed their environment. And I wonder sometimes, the guy who chopped down that last tree on the island, what was he thinking? It's not a lot different than now when you think about all the environmental degradation going on. So many people have said, stop. I remember when Rachel Carlson came out with her book decades and decades and decades ago, warning of the dangers of what we were heading into. And yet here we are barreling along, pretty much at the mercy of unchecked desire and unchecked greed. And it's very interesting to sort of look outside and kind of blame externally to see the effect of unchecked desire. And it's very, very helpful to do that U-turn and ask inwardly, how much does desire run my life? How much am I run by this never-ending wanting? Either wanting things that I think will fulfill me or wanting to nuke the things that threaten me. It's a very interesting kind of postulation that enlightenment, if you will, is nothing more than the absence of desire. The capacity to be fully awake to what is and to let things be, to wholeheartedly cooperate with reality. And so much of our desires are not based on reality. So when we take this time to reflect, I have found it very helpful in my own sort of New Year's reflection to ask myself, how much am I driven by delusion and by false desire? It's a pretty intense question, and I'm not sure I am particularly adept at it, although I give it a try. And the inquiry really is, what's real and what's true? There's a perception that we're here forever. And of course, the body will drop away, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I loved a line that Johnny Carson once offered on The Tonight Show. He said that after you die, your hair and fingernails may grow a little bit more, but the calls drop off pretty dramatically. And so then the question becomes, when we're on this path, and we're on the path, you can't not be on the path, how do you navigate? So I just finished up being one of the leaders of our New Year's retreat. We had 230 people from all around the planet doing an online retreat, which was pretty wild. I encourage you to consider it. It's a very interesting way to practice. The good news is you have your own bed, you have your own food, you've got your own safe environment, and there are certain disadvantages in that you're kind of on your own, drawing on as much support as you can online. I think many people were surprised as to how well it worked for them. But of course, we were doing sitting meditation, mindful movement, and walking meditation. And I was just reflecting on this walking meditation where you're walking very, very slowly, and you're being really aware of the body moving through space as the body is moving through space. And there's kind of a miracle to it. And I'm 6'5". I'm just this skinny stack of bones. And I was really aware of, my God, there's so much going on when I'm just walking. How do I keep this ectomorphic stack of bones balanced? All the little muscles that go into moving, all that's going on in the brain to kind of keep my body in equilibrium. I've been working more on balance in my own kind of physical practice, because it really is with balance is, it really is kind of use it or lose it. So it's very interesting when you do balancing postures. You can really feel all those little micro muscles that are keeping you upright. For many years, I wear barefoot shoes, and what happens is when you're kind of barefoot or with barefoot shoes and you're out walking, so much more of the muscles of your feet are active. All the sensing muscles are a little more alive. They're kind of firing away to keep you balanced. And this is very much a metaphor for making your way through life. Is where is the course correction? How do you sense when it's a little too much this way and you bring it back that way? I think what many people find in their meditation practice is that the more you slow down, the more you relax, the more you notice, the more you begin to recognize what's described as the middle way. You begin to recognize when things are too tight, when things are too loose. And it becomes this very exquisite practice of self-awareness and self-diagnosis. So just a very quick little reflection, if you will. If you like, you can close your eyes. And you might take 3 slow, deep breaths. And you might just sense now, as you relax and as you feel, if you could find 2 words that describe your inner state right now, what might they be? And you might just sense, where is the balance? If your mind is a little bit flighty or restless, the balance may come through being more one-pointed, gathering your attention in the here and now. If you're feeling tired, you might find the balance may be in turning your attention to sound or breathing a little bit deeper to bring in a little bit more energy. If you're feeling agitated, you may find that smoothing out your breath just a little bit may have kind of a calming effect that may bring you back. If you're feeling relaxed and calm, you may find it more natural to kind of widen your awareness and allow yourself just to sense what it means to let things be. In any given moment, you are engaging in the course correcting, sensing what's here, and sensing how the moment wants you to be with it. If you like, you can deepen your breath. If you like, you can open your eyes, or you can remain with them closed. Just as in any given moment, you're sensing where the balance is, we can broaden that out to our lives as well. And that's why I find it a valuable exercise for myself to do a little review of how my life is unfolding. So I'd like to share a little bit about what I've noticed, and then I'll lead a little reflection where you might do some inquiry as well. So the first inquiry that I explore is, when I look back over this year, what worked? And actually, I'm happy to say a lot worked for me. I've got a happy home, a happy relationship. I'm really, really grateful for all there. The year before, I decided I wanted to really, really tweak my health. My sleep was all messed up. And so I threw everything I had at my sleep. Whatever any expert said, do this, I did it. And I'm really happy to say my sleep has improved dramatically. I wear an Aura ring now. I have an Uller cooling mattress. I have a gravity blanket. I go to bed at 8:30 pretty much every night. I am very mindful of exercise. I don't eat a few hours before I go to sleep. And there is a really powerful increase in my rest and my activity based on that. I've found that a plant-based diet really, really works for me. I found myself playing with time-restricted eating, which is fascinating stuff. And that is, you basically you limit the amount of time you take in kind of dense calories. And so many studies have shown how when you do this time-restricted eating, not only does it give your body a rest and improve your digestion and improve your sleep, but it actually frees up your body to kind of like scour and really do some deep inner cleansing and healing. And I'm dialing in my exercise, the kind of exercise that works for me. So that's been really great. Another thing that worked for me is I really found that moving online kind of works for me. There are definitely some things lost, but there are definitely some things gained. I found that I didn't realize the psychic and physical toll of so much travel. So not traveling has been offering really, really cool. I'm some new offerings with my friend Jake Tarr, working with leaders. I've led some trainings for the U.S. House of Representatives, and some in the Senate as well. Live streaming this class kind of worked out. I made a real intention last year to really cultivate more creativity, and I've been loving that. Photography and some video. I have a little morning routine where I write and I do one little cartoon sketch every day. That's been kind of cool. There seems to be a lot of when I actually started keeping track of my numbers, the numbers that I could track, and it just seems to be very abundant, and I'm so grateful. A lot worked. So it's easy to kind of reflect on what worked and leave it there, but of course, looking a little closer, reality is what didn't work. So a little bit of what didn't work for me is I had to cancel a lot of classes and a lot of retreats. I had a lot of programs on the road that just couldn't happen. I have this idea of this book that I want to do and the proposal, and I'm still wrestling with it. What's the form and how does that happen? I always have sort of questioning and some self-doubt about if I should be promoting myself and what I'm doing more. I said I would print some photos last year, but I didn't. I said I would track and manage my finances better, and I didn't. I said I'd figure out a grand savings plan for my old age, and I didn't. And there were a number of challenges this year. I really miss connecting live with people. That was a loss for me. So a brief reflection for you. This will be just for a few moments, but you might close your eyes again. And to kind of help to kind of like simplify this inquiry. When you think about this last year, what are 3 things that really worked for you? And take a few moments just to really sense, if you can give them a headline, as if you're writing them down. 3 things that worked that you're happy about. And what are 3 things that didn't work? Like 3 things you thought you were going to do, but you just didn't do. And again, can you imagine them in kind of bullet form? Kind of writing down the headlines of what those 3 things are. And if you like, you can deepen your breath. If you like, you can open your eyes. You can remain with them closed. If you'd like to take a look at my annual review where I go into a little more depth, you can check that out. You may want to take a little more time to kind of flesh these out for yourself. There's something here I find very helpful that's very much at the core of mindfulness, which is what is true. And for me, there's always something kind of brutal around, oh my God, I declared to the universe I was going to do these 5 things and I didn't do them. I don't have to judge it. It's kind of how it worked. I can understand why. I recognize that sometimes I didn't have enough information or something better came up. But still, helpful to look at that. But also, I'm recognizing for myself that finally, I think, in my elder age, that there's something around embracing the challenges as they arise. I really come to see that one of the byproducts of challenge is building resilience and building skill. I forget who the comedian was who talked about how when we were kids, he was pretty sure the adults were trying to kill us. By creating, the jungle gyms we had like exposed bolts that were built on pavement. They were just designed to like kill the weak ones. And then there was sort of this self-protection that came in where the jungle gyms were taken away and all the bulls were covered up. And I read recently that in Great Britain, they're putting them back because they're realizing the kids need to learn a little more resilience, kind of the skills that we learned from the bumps and bruises that occur. And I learned a lot this last year. And I learned a lot that I wouldn't have learned if I hadn't gone through what I went through. I found out that online with what I do can work okay. I always resisted online teaching because so much of what I like to do is personal and upfront and interactive. And while that was kind of a loss, I've also come to see that online actually can make this more available for so many other people. This last retreat I did, I was really kind of opposed to even offering it because for me, I find sitting shoulder to shoulder in a meditation hall, having the discipline where I have to kind of go against the stream of my conditioning to kind of keep sitting and keep walking and not get distracted. I didn't think it was going to work. But for many, many people, it worked. And for many, many people with disabilities, people who have kids they need to take care of, it actually allowed them to engage into this form of practice through online. That was a big learning for me. I also learned that my habitual way of just sort of saying yes and traveling to teach really has a psychic and a physical toll. And also I'm aware that all that travel has a certain environmental cost. And it's really helped me to kind of reconsider how much I want to be traveling and how much I want to be using resources to travel. How can I do less and accomplish more? I also learned the value of FaceTime, of how much I really value the opportunity of being with people in the flesh. I also learned how much more I thrive in my own inner world. Taking away the travel, taking away so many of the external focus has really brought so much more aliveness into my life. That has been really quite informative. And part of like taking away the external distraction has kind of opened up much more creativity for myself. That was a really, really cool learning. And so what's interesting is how, for me, as I've done my own review, and you may find as you kind of do your own review, that there's a sort of heightened awareness around short-term pain and long-term gain. For example, when it's time to meditate, and quite often when it's time for me to meditate, the last thing I want to do is meditate because I want to get stuff done. But if I can go through that short-term discomfort, inevitably what happens is the mud and the muddy water of my mind begins to settle and more clarity begins to emerge. Even in putting this talk together, when I meditated beforehand, I started to get a sense of, oh yes, a little more clarity in terms of what I felt would be important. Learning how to make this distinction between kind of the short-term pain and long-term gain can be really, really helpful as you determine what you really, really want and what's really calling you. And it opens up this whole question around, well, what's the long game here in your life? What's the end result you're looking for in your life? President Obama gave this great talk once where he said someone was asking him if he was doing his bucket list. He said, well, I'm doing another list. It rhymes with bucket, but it starts with an F. So here's a question. And I think this is maybe one of the best frames for looking around intention and attention and wise action. What would you do if someone said, look, I got some news and I think you should brace yourself. We don't know exactly when, but sometime your body is going to get sick and it's going to die. And also, not only that, everyone around you is going to do the same. So knowing that you're going to die, it would be a good idea to get your things in order now, just in case. It would be a good idea to kind of assess what's most important. And we're not sure when. It may not happen for a while, but it could happen today. We are going to die, and no one knows when. And when some people get the actual terminal illness diagnosis from a doctor, do they quit their jobs and spend their last money on a Carnival cruise? Some do. But a lot of people go on with their lives, and they make the adjustments in their life that cultivate greater joy and more savoring. I always share that line, from a wise yogi who said, the greatest wonder in the world is that everyone dies. The second greatest wonder in the world is that no one thinks they will. And my friend Craig is such an inspiration for me. He's roughly my age. He was a successful business executive, very much on the path. And he took the route of early retirement, and he elected after his retirement to sit with the dying. And this is very much a part of his life, accompanying people who are transitioning. And he's particularly called to sit with people who have no family, so he can be there with him. And he's told me some stories of what it's like just to make eye contact with someone who's passing, where, as he said, there's no one there but the eyes. And I can see his embracing of impermanence. Every time I see him, he's more joyous. He's more playful. He's more creative. He's generous. He's shedding what he has and making room for more presence in his life. I think it's so important to reflect on impermanence. When I think of my great-great-grandparents, I don't know their names. I don't know anything about them. And when I imagine 3 generations from now, who's going to remember me? And then the question becomes, given the fact that all of this is falling away, how do I want to live? How do you want to live your life? The third question that I explore in my annual review, which is a great one, I think, for all of us, is to really ask, what's calling? And for me, knowing that I'm going to die, possibly today, what I really want, number one, is to wake up. To be awake in my heart, to be awake in mind. Given my time here is limited, I want to cultivate more creativity and more expression. And paradoxically, the more I want to cultivate creativity, the more I realize I need organization and discipline, because that actually brings out the creativity in me. A friend was telling me how Stephen King did an interview where he said that he writes every day for 4 hours, except for Christmas and New Year's. And when he was interviewed again by this person, he said, so is it true that you write every day for 4 hours except for Christmas and New Year's? And Stephen King said, no, I lied. I write every day. So creativity has an aliveness that I so enjoy. I want to be a good partner. I want to be a good friend. I want to be more generous. And I've really come to see, and maybe as part of aging, I want to be more aware of how I manage my states, how I manage my energy. I'm always interested in tweaking lifestyle and health. And so this year, I want to savor more of the time when I'm really alive. Energy shows up as peak and in valley and recovery, and morning is my time. So I have this joyous thing of going to bed at 8:30 and waking up whenever I wake up, which is quite often at 4:30 or 5, savoring that creative time. I've been very inspired recently by someone who told me how her husband, who had migraines his whole life, did some work with trauma and was able to kind of unwind that. I want to explore that. What knots could I untie here? I'm fascinated at the idea of simplifying. Being even more creative around this gnarly thing around this book. Is there some new way I might express it? So I've asked myself, could I boil down my intention to one word? I had 2 words. They were less anxious. But then I realized, actually, the word I really want to embrace is flow. Because when I'm in flow, there's a sense of trust. I'm going to die, but in the meantime, can I be in flow? I'm aware my time with you is running out. I've only a few minutes, which is why I've been talking a little faster the last 5 minutes, but I'd like to close with a reflection and with a short reading. If you like, you can close your eyes. I'll start with the reading, and then we'll move into the reflection. And if you like, you can kind of stay on in the reflection. This reading is from Brother David Stendelrost. May you grow still enough to hear the small noises earth makes in preparing for the long sleep of winter, so that you yourself may grow calm and grounded deep within. May you grow still enough to hear the trickling of water seeping into the ground, so that your soul may be softened and healed and guided in its flow. May you grow still enough to hear the splintering of starlight in the winter sky and the roar of Earth's fiery core. May you grow still enough to hear the stir of a single snowflake in the air, so that your inner silence may turn into hushed expectation. In these final moments, you might take 3 slow, deep, and smooth breaths. In your own way, honoring this quality of impermanence, honoring the fact that this body, this configuration of who you take yourself to be, one day will vanish. And as you reflect on the unfolding of your life, you might sense what most calls you. Knowing that this life one day will vanish. How would you like to live? What fills you with joy? And you might now gently deepen your breath. Thank you so much for your time and for your attention. May this coming year be filled with unexpected pleasures. Thank you and best wishes.